Hello there, it is December the 7th, 2010, and today I am also going to do a video response. And so the question, and it kind of reminds me of like an English paper assignment, which was do a response that describes games that you liked to play that the general public either didn't like or just didn't do well. I'm kind of expanding. I kind of just picked some games that I thought that I really enjoyed playing, and I played through them, but I don't recall ever seeing any exceptionally good reviews or bad reviews. So, and there's going to be some I just don't even have, or I can't locate in my piles of stuff. So we'll just we'll just get started here, and I'm just going to kind of work my way backwards. So we have Laser Blast, which admittedly is a pretty simple game, but I found this game to just be a nice low thinking title. Essentially, shoot the little things on the ground. That was pretty novel when it came out when I was a kid and I was playing this. It feels a little repetitive, but at the same time I would feel a rhythm, and I just kind of enjoyed that rhythmic play to this game. So you would just go zap zap zap, and that was it. And when I felt sporting, I'd let them shoot at me, I'd take a couple pot shots, and then I'd plug them all. But it was just Laser Blast, and I thought it was kind of cool. Still in the realm of the Atari 2600, we have Egomania, which was really a Kaboom ripoff, but it was a lot less forgiving than the classic Kaboom, because you essentially had one layer that you could actually capture falling objects in, and if you happen to have missed the layer, well, it sucked to be you. And of course you got to shoot the bird, which was actually kind of amusing in its own right. And I can think of many times I wish I could have chucked a bomb back at the Mad Bomber in Kaboom. Another one from US Games is the Name This Game, which is kind of an odd approach, I guess, but I don't know. I just thought there was something pretty cool about this. It was, our marketing guys have failed us, so we need a new game, and we have this octopus with a smiley face, and give it a name. And I don't know. Again, it's another kind of low-thinking title, but I found it enjoyable. Now we'll go to the Game Boy Advance, and we have Zoo Cube, which was a puzzle title where essentially you had a rotating cube that you then had to match up two of, or I think it was two of, the same thing together. And this actually also came out for the GameCube as well. And I don't know, I kind of like puzzle games, and this one makes a lot of obnoxious noises and there's a lot of funky pickups in it, but I don't think it ever really got a whole lot of airtime, or people don't really go for this title, but I just find it kind of fun, and I've actually taken this on trips and popped it in the Game Boy more than once have I done that, and had a good time with it. Next up, for the Nintendo 64, this was one of the first 64 titles I played pretty heavily, and it's the Mystical Ninja Goemon series. And I didn't realize that this had actually, when I bought this, I didn't realize there were several entries into this franchise. And this is more of a third-person platformer, 3D third-person platformer. It's very Japanese, and there's this one spot where you can go to the fortune teller and you pay them money for a hint, and he'll go abba dabba dabba dabba, and he goes plasma, and it's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, but it was hilarious. In today's world of high-def graphics, you can't get that, but I just found it to be just cool and amusing, and I don't know if this got any critical acclaim one way or the other. I really don't care either way. It's like, I liked it, it's fun, and if I could get my N64 saves to behave well again, I'd probably pick this up and play through it again just to finish the game completely. Another one, and this one I know gets a lot of grief for the Jaguar, as people love giving the Jaguar grief, is Cybermorph. I know this is the pack-in, it's super common, but I thought this was actually a really fun game. It runs a little pokey, but I just found it to be, again, just something where it was very low thinking, but it's like, okay, there's some strategy involved in terms of weapon selection and enemy types and what you had to do and the pickups, and I just liked it. And you know, if you could speed the game up a little bit and add textures to the 3D polygons that it has, it would have been an even better game, honestly. But you know, I think that's the other one they have. Is it Battle Morph? I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head. So anyway, let's move on. Since I can't remember it, I'm having a low memory moment. Next we'll roll on to the Dreamcast as I drop things. And here is another one of those first games I bought when I started getting into console gaming again, is Time Stalkers. This is a very bizarre RPG if you've never played it. It's got an odd dungeon crawling system where you essentially you're more likely to starve to death than you are actually to be killed by the boss at the end. And that was the thing that really kind of sucked, is you had to do this really nasty inventory management, plus you leveled up, and you know, as you went through the dungeon and when you got out of the dungeon, you went back to level 1, and it had an interesting scaling mechanic, but it was just odd, and I don't know. As far as the game itself went, I enjoyed the story. As far as I got, I just never finished the last dungeon because I starved to death. And the Pokemon aspect, where you kind of capture monsters and train them to do your bidding, is also kind of a fun thing. So we'll just kind of do the back here. They did need better names, though. Like, you know, the main character pictured here, his name is Sword. Come on, guys, that's just bad. But still a great game in my mind, just as something fun to play. Also for the Dreamcast is Vigilante 8. It doesn't matter which installment. The second offense actually had more vehicles and some more funky characters, and you add car combat plus disco music, and it's kind of like a personal dirty little secret. I mean, you know, get your funk on and shoot someone in the face. I can't really complain about that. And the Dreamcast, of course, was honestly the better implementation of them all because of the you know, just a better better hardware versus the PlayStation or the Nintendo 64, which this also came out for. And I liked how Luxaflux handled their car combat system. It was very simplistic, but it was more arcadey than it was anything else, and that was fine by me. I really, you know, I'm not a big sim person. I'm more of a, you know, arcade style for things like that. So like Burnout 3 I'd actually like, but that doesn't qualify for today's installment. For the GameCube, we have Metabots Infinity, and this is another series that I'm big fanboy of, is the Metabots series. If you've never seen any of these episodes, just YouTube it and do a Google search. And the main character, who's pictured here in his I call it kind of the Rev 2 armor, he's kind of got some attitude, and honestly he made this show. And there was a second season that never made it to the States, probably because of probably lack of interest more than anything else. But it was a very I guess it was an attempt to take on the Pokemon machine with robots and piece parts, so they would actually have interchangeable torsos, arms, and leg modules, so they could essentially had left and right arm, the main body, and then their legs, and you could then and they each had different properties and abilities depending on what you loaded them up with. And in the States they did the Infinity, and they also did 4 Game Boy Advance releases, which were essentially kind of like a Red Blue, which was a Metabee Rokusho, and the one set was a platform fighter, and the other one was actually like a Pokemon style RPG. And honestly, I really like the Pokemon style RPG. This one wasn't as great because it's more of a 3D style glare RPG than anything else, and the story wasn't that great, honestly. But still, I bought that on release day for actually more than full price because I really was that much of a fanboy of the series. For the Xbox, and this was actually a multi-platform, which was Dr. Muto, and this was kind of just a fun 3D platformer that was, it had some good humor in it. There are some levels near about the middle or two-thirds point that are just a little too unforgiving for my taste, but again, I just thought this was a nice fun game that I enjoyed playing. So, and essentially you would play this doctor and he would get creatures and capture them and splice their DNA, and he could turn into various creatures based on what things he captured and actually upgrade his abilities based on what he captured. So it was a collect them all kind of thing. Lastly, for the PS2, Battle Engine Aquila. This was one of those bargain basement titles, and there was just, again, something very arcadey and fun I found about this title. I mean, you turn into a jet, you turn into a tank, and, you know, destroy your enemies and shoot the other ones in the face. Sure, why not? And this got pretty tough near the end of the game, but still a very enjoyable title for me, and not something that I've ever seen people go, oh, that's a great title, you ought to play this. And I even have trouble telling people you ought to play this, but I still like playing it. Some other ones that I'm not going to picture here, but I'll just list them off quickly, is the Rumble Roses for PS2, and the One Chanbra, the Bikini Zombie Slayers, which is more of a dirty little secret than anything else, honestly. I mean, you know, barely dressed lady with swords hacking up zombies. What the hell? You know, Jed, get my shotgun would be a better solution than, you know, wearing nothing and, you know, hacking at zombies with swords. They even did a live action of that series. It's really bizarre. Anyway, that's all I've got for this, and thanks.